Hello friends, I hope you have been well. Techman Pat here, bringing you another dirt report on the tech and telco landscape of Australia. From snow to desert, we have some spicy stories for you today. Singtel lands a 360 reverse backflip, ruling out the Optus sale, much like the Aussie Broadband, who didn't land their trick, losing their bid for Superloop, and Vodafone to bid farewell to 3G finally. How has this affected users? If you like this episode, then make sure to tap the like button, and if you wish to support us and get notified of any new videos, then please consider subscribing. Let's kick it off by rolling my favorite intro. Singtel, Southeast Asia's largest telecom operator and Optus owner, has ruled out an impending deal to sell the Australian mobile network operator. Optus safe for now from a new part ownership. All this following reports by The Australian that the talks for a potential stake have fallen off. Now, this may be due to some analysts proclaiming that Optus is not yet a good deal. One of those analysts from DBS Bank in Singapore commenting on the failed divestment, saying Optus's current return on investment capital is a bit too low to monetize, and that there is no urgent need for cash at Singtel. It is better to improve Optus first via cost cutting in the near term and mobile tariff hikes in the medium term before divesting a stake. So it looks like this may lead to an internal shakeup and maybe even price updates. After all, Vodafone has been hiking their planned prices left, right and center. Optus may follow. When contacted by Reuters, Singtel denied the potential $12 billion deal for stake in Optus by the Canadian Brookfield. And of course, Brookfield also declined to comment. You don't generally talk about failed things to the press. In any case, Singtel sought a trading halt after its shares sank 3.15% to $2.78 and reiterated that there was no Optus divestment deal on the table, with its shares last down at 3.9%. After all, Optus has been one of Singtel's largest investments overseas, even though the second largest telecommunication group recently drew public ire after a 12-hour network blackout affecting more than 10 million Australians. Now, if the analysis is right and Optus needs a new coat of paint, then we may very well see sales of Optus in the future. Ultimately, it sounds like the offers were nowhere near Singtel's dollar figures. And Singtel asked its shareholders to exercise caution in their review of reports relating to Optus while dealing with its shares. Singtel's Singaporean operations and Optus account for half of its business, while the rest comprises of minority stakes in several telcos, including Bharat Airtel, Indonesia's Telkomsel, and the Philippines' Global Telecom, meaning that anything that happens to Optus directly and proportionally affects Singtel's share price. So in tradition, it all comes down to the share market. Money talks. So keeping in a theme, let's talk about Aussie Broadband, where their money was lost for words. As you may remember, earlier this year, the Aussie Broadband vs Superloop saga took off with a bang. And with more twists than an M. Night Shyamalan film, we end the story in the courtroom and an April Fool's share sell down by the group. You see, by Aussie Broadband buying more than 12% of Superloop, Aussie got on the wrong side of Singapore's Infocommunication Media Development Authority, a government entity which allows Superloop to operate in Singapore. Part of that requirement means that anyone who wants to buy Superloop has to fly it past the IMDA. In turn, Superloop directed Aussie Broadband to divest their shares to get back under the 12% cap. Then on March 19th, Aussie Broadband sought an injunction to allow it to keep the full 19.9% stake. But on Thursday afternoon, Aussie announced that the court had dismissed its application. Then, according to the ASX announcement on the 2nd of April, Aussie Broadband entered into an agreement on the 1st of April 2024 to sell 37,621,056 shares of Superloop at $1.31 per share, reducing their holdings from 19.9% to 11.9%. What's more interesting is that the deal was with an unnamed buyer. Funny numbers those, because you see, aside from Superloop's own internal rules not allowing that 12%, according to the ASX, the 20% or more ownership is a takeover threshold, where a person cannot acquire a relevant interest in a company's shares if it would result in that person's or someone else's voting power in the company increasing from 20% or below to more than 20%, or increasing from a starting point that is above 20% but below 90%, unless the acquisition occurs via a specified exemption such as a takeover bid, scheme of arrangement, or with target shareholder approval. Hence why Aussie Broadband made the bid at 19.9%, but when selling they stayed above 10% and just under the 12% requirement. Because above 10% ownership enables the blocking of compulsory acquisitions by the person who has greater than 10% shareholding interest in an ASX listed company, meaning they will be able to prevent a majority shareholder from moving to 100% ownership through compulsory acquisition, because the compulsory acquisition threshold is set at 90%. Now, market makers are all playing chess while we play what can we afford to eat tonight. In any case, the sell down brings this failed merger to an end. Or does it? Because above 10% is still a playable chess piece. Lastly, Vodafone is about to pull the final pin, and no, it's not an April Fool's story. This was from the 2nd of April. Opensignal, who are the leading global provider of independent insights integrating network experiences and market performance across coverage, wireless and broadband operators, released an analysis of what effect Vodafone's 3G shutdown has had across Australia. And what happens next will shock you. Make sure to like and subscribe. 3G is definitely on the way out, and 2024 is going to be its last year. This is the last hurrah. Vodafone was the first operator to commence shutting down its network across the country. They started in December 2023, slowly deactivating its 3G networks region by region. Telstra and Optus have also announced that they will be commencing shutting down their own 3G networks in June and September 2024. So by the end of 2024, don't expect to see that 3G icon on your mobile anymore. According to Opensignal's analysis, there has been little to no disruption in Vodafone services during the operator's shutoff of 3G. This is from a perspective of mobile broadband users, interestingly enough, because there are mobile users who currently rely on existing 3G networks. Even I, in a very populated Perth suburb, have moments where 3G is all I get. Those regions have not had their 3G shut off yet. Because more importantly, and luckily, Australia's Senate has opened an inquiry into the planned shutdown to deal with the potential issues facing users with older 4G devices that do not support voice over LTE, which once 3G is shut down will not be able to call emergency services. And this is a big no-no. The matter has been referred to the Rural and Regional Affairs and Transport Reference Committee, although the report is not set to be completed until 30th November 2024 after the shutdown has commenced on all 3 networks, which isn't great timing, but when has the government had ever any great timing? The report states that Vodafone's 3G shutdown has shown that the removal of 3G networks does not translate into increased time without signal for their users. Not only that, the spectrum freed will be repurposed to improve existing 5G networks, benefiting users' experience and increasing connectivity, of course. Vodafone has already been reframing its 2100 MHz 3G spectrum and allocating it for 5G services, but now it can do the same for its 900 MHz spectrum. These spectrum allocations will make it more economical for operators to deploy 5G infrastructure and improve their existing network. So you'll see the 5G icon more often than not, which makes sense as users are spending more time in 5G connections, which in turn isn't really a surprise that the mobile network experience has improved for most users. Since August 2023, Vodafone's users' average download speeds have increased by 2/5 on both overall and 5G networks. Upload speeds have been more modest, with improvements of around 10%. And on that disappointing note, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. We're going to end this episode right here. That has been The Dirt Report, and I'll catch you all in another one. Bye!